2 minutes left. Elon Musk secretly added you to his private contact list. The clock on your phone blinks 11:58 p.m. The room smells faintly of coffee and tired ambition. You've been awake for nearly 20 hours, grinding away on a project that no one asked for, but you couldn't abandon it. There's something inside you that won't let you quit, an invisible pulse, insistent, tied to a larger dream. Beyond your window, the city hums, and every distant light feels like another soul wrestling with the darkness. You rub your eyes, stretch, and glance at your inbox, a ritual repeated every few minutes, like searching for miracles in the mundane. Then, suddenly, it happens. A new message. The name beside it makes your breath catch, from Elon Musk. Subject: you're on the list. At first, your brain rejects it. Spam? A cruel joke? But the address is verified, the formatting minimal and precise. You open the body, a single sentence that changes everything. You've been added to my private contact list. You'll know why soon. No attachments, no signature. Just that. For 2 minutes, you sit in silence. Your heart pounds in your throat. Part of you wants to laugh, another to cry. Yet another whispers that this could be the sign you've waited for. You think of all the nights you worked while others slept, the times you were dismissed as chasing fantasies. Maybe those fantasies were rehearsals for something real. You stare at the email again, private contact list. It feels impossible. Elon Musk, the man who builds rockets, cars, and ideas that redefine humanity's limits, and somehow, your name is on his list. You check your phone's clock, 2 minutes until midnight. You've read that Musk often works until 2 or 3 a.m., firing off emails between meetings, launches, and dreams. Maybe this is one of those moments. Perhaps he scrolled through a database, a name, a project, and something about you stood out, something you didn't even know was visible. That first spark ignites, and you can't sleep. Your laptop stays open as you Google every variation of Elon Musk contact list secret. Nothing relevant. The internet, usually a torrent of noise, offers only silence, as if this hasn't reached its algorithms yet. By 3 a.m., you stop searching. The caffeine fades, and your mind drifts to memories. Your first idea, scribbled on a napkin years ago, ignored by everyone. Friends who smiled politely at your world-changing talks, until you stopped sharing to avoid sounding naive. But Musk's life is built on what others called naive, reusable rockets, electric cars that outpace sports cars, colonizing Mars. Each sounded like madness until it didn't. You whisper to yourself, what if he saw my work? That thought becomes oxygen, filling the dark corners of your doubt. Suddenly, every failure feels like data, not defeat. Maybe everything up to now was training for this. Dawn breaks, and you brew coffee, opening your laptop again. You don't know what you're preparing for, but you can't waste the chance. Even if it's nothing, you revise old projects, rewrite notes, update your website, reorganize files. An energy surges through you, one you haven't felt in years. The energy of possibility, the call to action. 3 days pass with no follow-up. But something inside you has shifted. The silence doesn't frustrate, it motivates. You start acting as if the world is watching, as if someone like Musk might check in anytime. You wake earlier, think bigger, take your ideas seriously again. Then, on the 4th day, your phone vibrates, not an email, but a message on a secure, unfamiliar platform. The sender ID is hidden, but the first line reads, "This is about the future. Do you still believe in yours?" You hesitate, then reply, "Always." The next line arrives instantly, "Good. Then prove it. You have 48 hours to send me something that represents your boldest idea. The one you've been afraid to share. No signature, but you know who it must be." You sit there, staring at the blinking cursor. You recall watering down ideas for acceptability, choosing safety over sincerity. But this is an invitation to be fearless. You open a blank document and type for 2 days like a storm, pouring in creativity and conviction. A fusion of technology, sustainability, and human purpose. Perfection doesn't matter, truth does, the truth that you have something to give. When you hit send, you attach faith, not fear. Days pass. No reply. At first, the silence feels heavy, almost cruel. You question if it was real, a test you failed, or never meant to be answered. Maybe the point was to awaken something inside you. But then, late one evening as rain taps your window, your phone lights up. One new message from Elon Musk. Subject, still awake. You open it, heart pounding, "I read your idea." You think in systems, not silos. That's rare. Don't stop building. I'll be in touch. That's it. No promises, no meetings. But the words echo like a mantra, "Don't stop building." You realize this is what it means to be noticed, not for who you are, but for the fire that won't die. Weeks pass, and you live differently. Work feels magnetic, with direction. Ideas flow faster. You connect with collaborators, and for once, people listen. Musk's message didn't make you special, it reminded you that you already were. It didn't grant permission to dream, it proved dreaming is logical. You start building your prototype. Nights blur into learning tools, coding, sketching, failing, fixing. Walls aren't barriers, they measure your desire. Obstacles become data, doubts, reminders to keep trying. Sometimes you wonder if he's watching, testing your persistence without applause. You push on, because now it's about you. Months later, after countless nights, you get another message, "Are you free to talk?" You say yes before checking the sender. The video call starts, and there he is, Elon Musk, in an office that's ordinary yet otherworldly. He smiles slightly. "I wanted to see the person behind that idea." He says, "Most people talk about changing the world, you wrote about aligning it, connecting tech with human meaning. That's different." You stammer, "I didn't think you'd actually read it." He laughs. "I don't have time to read most things. But sometimes something alive crosses my path." He leans forward. "Your work feels alive. Time collapses. Every failure, every doubt, it all makes sense. Not because a famous person noticed you, but because your dark work was visible to the right eyes. He continues, you don't need my approval. You already started. That's the hard part. The rest is momentum. Then, unforgettable words. Most people wait to be chosen. But the truth is, when you act like you've already been chosen by your purpose, your passion, the universe adjusts to match your conviction. The call ends. You sit in silence. The room is the same, but you're not. Your idea, once a whisper, is now a roar. Success isn't about a contact list, it's about becoming someone worth finding. You return to your desk, hands moving with calm certainty. No more chasing validation, you're building inevitability. The email was never about Musk, it was about recognizing yourself. Every sunrise feels like a second chance. Setbacks, signals to recalibrate. Every no, an echo of an unreached yes. You've stopped waiting for notice, you're giving the world something undeniable. The morning after the call, the world looks sharper, newly made. The air feels charged, as if the universe has realigned you. You brew coffee, sit at your desk, and realize you're not waiting, you're moving. The project. Once sketches and scattered code, breathes. You call it Pulse Grid, a network balancing local energy by linking homes, vehicles, and microgrids in real time. Every device is a node in a living system that shares power instead of hoarding it. Elegant, scalable, ambitious. You start small, post an open source outline on a developer forum with one line, let's make the grid human. Within hours, strangers reply, from Nairobi, Mumbai, Berlin. Nights become video calls across time zones, collaborating as equals. No funding, no titles, just purpose. Purpose is contagious. Weeks melt into months. The prototype works, barely. It predicts demand and redistributes load. The first error-free test brings quiet pride. Months later, the world catches up. You're invited to speak at a global innovation summit in Austin, a conference of restless minds and impossible ideas. You almost decline, crowds unsettle you. But something whispers. This is the path. Backstage, the air smells of light and electricity. The moderator says, you'll be after the keynote. Elon's opening. The name ripples through you. You haven't spoken since the call, but his words have guided you like a compass. Coincidence? Still, when lights dim and Musk's keynote slide shows Earth shimmering with energy lines, your breath catches. He talks sustainable civilization, distributed intelligence, technology's moral weight. Then he gestures. You may have heard about Pulse Grid. It began as an open-source project by someone who refused to wait for permission. Your heart stops. He doesn't name you yet, but the crowd murmurs. He continues, I added that person to my private contact list a year ago because of one sentence that mattered, let's make the grid human. I think that sentence might define the next century. Applause thunders. Shocked, You barely move until the moderator touches your arm. You're up next. You step on stage, palms damp, knees unsteady. For a second, you find his face, calm, amused, encouraging, and speak from memory, not notes. About failure, persistence, how Pulse Grid's first version ran on a second-hand laptop and crashed hourly. The audience laughs with you. You share, innovation isn't genius, it's stubborn hope. The refusal to believe today limits possibility. The applause feels like connection. After the conference, you step into the warm Austin night. The air hums with conversation, but you wander away for silence. Across the plaza, Musk talks to engineers near Tesla's. He notices you, excuses himself, and walks over. "Good talk," he says simply. You spoke like someone who's been building, not performing. You laugh softly. "That's the only thing I know how to do." He nods, gazing at the stars. "You know, when I started my companies, people thought I was crazy. But you don't build rockets or cars or grids because you're sure it'll work. You build because you can't imagine not trying." He pauses. "When I sent that first email, it wasn't an invitation. It was a mirror. I wanted to see if you'd recognize yourself in it." You blink. "So, it was a test." "Not really," he replies. "Just a reminder. Everyone's on the list if they act like they are." You let that sink in. The contact list wasn't about names or emails, it was mindset, for those who build rather than wait. He shakes your hand and heads back. "Keep going. Don't wait for the next message." You watch him vanish into the night, a silhouette in light. Suddenly, nothing feels accidental. You don't need replies, calls, or signals, you've crossed the threshold. Flying home the next morning, the sun rises over clouds. You open your laptop to the Pulse Grid dashboard, thousands of active nodes, each a glowing point of shared purpose. Every light, a heartbeat. You think of unseen collaborators running your code, improving it, believing in it. For a long moment, you just watch. Then you whisper, "We're all on the list." And maybe that's the message: greatness isn't being chosen by the powerful, it's choosing yourself when no one else does. Showing up uncomfortably, building uncertainly, believing when it's easier not to. The rest of the flight is quiet. Clouds roll like a slow tide. Somewhere between sky and earth, you realize you don't need permission to matter. You already do. You close your eyes and see it clearly. Every dreamer who refuses to quit is part of an invisible network, a living human grid powering progress. You smile. The work continues. Every night, you sit at your desk, reflecting on the journey, but you don't rest. Momentum isn't a trophy, it's a habit, a rhythm, a force cultivated daily. Progress doesn't ask permission, the world doesn't hand opportunities. You create them quietly, persistently, one action at a time. You remember doubts, feeling inadequate. Each a training moment, preparing you to seize opportunity. The list wasn't a secret, it was a reflection of your inner spark, waiting to ignite. In every project, you see threads connecting people, ideas, effort. Your work becomes contribution, building a network of hope for others to join. One small idea ripples into systems, movements, futures that feel impossible until they aren't. In quiet moments, when no one watches, you grasp the deepest truth. Being on the list was never about recognition. It was about courage, persistence, and acting when no one believed. You smile again, knowing you, and everyone willing to build, are part of something greater, a living grid of possibility powering the world forward. First, it doesn't feel real. Spam. A cruel joke. But the address is verified, the format exact. Then you see the body, a single sentence that shifts the earth beneath your feet. You've been added to my private contact list. You'll know why soon. No attachments, no signature. For 2 minutes you sit in silence, heart in your throat. Part of you wants to laugh. Another part wants to cry. A third whispers that this could be the sign you've waited for. You recall the nights you worked while others slept, the moments you were told your dreams were foolish. Maybe those dreams were rehearsals for something real. You reread the line. Private contact list. It feels impossible. Elon Musk. The man who builds rockets, cars, and ideas that push the boundaries of what's possible. Somehow your name is in that list. You open the clock again, 2 minutes until midnight. You remember reading that Musk often works until 2 or 3 a.m., trading emails between launches and plans for the future. Maybe this is one of those moments. Maybe he scanned a database and found you. Maybe he noticed something you didn't yet notice about yourself. The first spark keeps you awake. Your mind drifts to the memory of your first idea, jotted on a napkin years ago, unread by anyone but you. Friends offered polite smiles when you spoke of changing the world, and you began speaking less to avoid sounding naive. But Musk's entire life sprang from that same danger of naivety. Reusable rockets, electric cars that outpace sports cars, colonies on Mars, madness until it wasn't. You whisper, what if he saw my work? The thought becomes oxygen, filling the dark corners of doubt. Every failure, every setback, becomes data instead of defeat. Perhaps everything you've done has been training for this moment. Dawn arrives with coffee and a loaded laptop. You don't know what you're preparing for, but you can't waste the chance. Even if it proves nothing, you revise old projects, rewrite notes, update your website, reorganize your files. A new energy, possibility, purpose, courses through you. For 3 days, no follow-up. Yet the silence itself begins to motivate. You act as though the world is watching, as though Musk might check in at any moment. Then, on the 4th day, a new message arrives, not an email, but a note on a secure, unfamiliar platform. The sender ID is hidden. The first line reads, "This is about the future. Do you still believe in yours?" You hesitate, then reply, "Always." The next line lands instantly, "Good. Then prove it. You've got 48 hours to send me something that represents your boldest idea, the one you've been afraid to share." No signature again. You know who it is, or at least who it must be. You sit with the blinking cursor for a long while, remembering how you watered down ideas to fit in, how you chose safety over sincerity. But this is an invitation to be fearless. You open a blank document and write for 2 days, a storm of words. You fuse technology, sustainability, and human purpose. You don't chase perfection, you chase truth, the truth that you have something to give. When you press send, you attach faith, not fear. You feel the shift. Days pass without reply. The silence weighs, then becomes heavy in a way that feels almost generous. You wonder if it was real, if you were chosen, if any of it matters. Then, one rainy evening, a new message arrives. Still awake. I read your idea. You think in systems, not silos. That's rare. Don't stop building. I'll be in touch. The words echo like a mantra. Don't stop building. This is the moment you realize what being noticed really means, not approval from a person, but alignment with a purpose you already carry inside. Weeks slip by, and you begin living differently. A magnetic sense of direction pulls you forward. You connect dots you'd never seen, invite collaborators, and for the first time in a long while, people listen. There's no funding, no title, only purpose, and purpose is contagious. You build Pulse Grid, a network to balance local energy use by linking homes, vehicles, and microgrids in real time. Every device becomes a node in a living system that learns to share power rather than hoard it. It's simple, elegant, terrifying in its ambition. You post an open-source outline on a developer forum with one line at the top, "Let's make the grid human." Replies flood in from Nairobi, Mumbai, Berlin, people who want to learn, to join, to build. No gatekeeping, just collaboration. Weeks melt into months. The prototype runs, nearly failing at first, then stabilizing. The system predicts peak demand and redistributes load in real time. When the first test completes without a crash, you feel a quiet pride that no applause could match. Months pass and the world starts to catch up. You're invited to speak at a global innovation summit in Austin. You hesitate at first, crowds still unsettle you. But something inside nudges you forward. This is where the path leads backstage. Backstage, the air feels like light and electricity. The moderator announces that Musk will open the session. The crowd's murmur swells as the keynote unfolds, Earth displayed with lines of energy, a future civilization built on distributed intelligence and the moral weight of technology. Musk gestures to the slide and says, "You may have heard about PulseGrid. It began as an open-source project by someone who refused to wait for permission." Your heart stops. He doesn't name you yet, but the crowd begins to murmur anyway. He continues, "I added that person to my private contact list a year ago because I saw one sentence that mattered. Let's make the grid human." The line lands like a spark, and the applause erupts. You're called to the stage next. You speak not from notes but from the sum of late nights and small moments that carved this path. You speak of failure, persistence, and how the first version of Pulse Grid ran on a second-hand laptop and crashed every hour. The audience laughs with you, not at you. You share what you've learned. Innovation isn't born from genius alone, it's born from stubborn hope, the refusal to accept, today is the limit. The applause rings with a different quality this time, it's connection, not spectatorship. After the conference, you slip away to the Austin night. Musk stands nearby with engineers, a small circle around him. He notices you and steps over. "Good talk," he says simply. You laugh gently. "That's the only thing I know how to do." He nods, looking up at the stars. "When I started my companies, people thought I was crazy. But you don't build rockets or cars or grids because you're sure it'll work. You build because you can't imagine not trying." Then, softly, "When I sent you that first email, it wasn't an invitation. It was a mirror. I wanted to see if you'd recognize yourself in it. You